KHTS.
740 on your hometown station, KHTS. Make sure you go to hometownstation.com for all the latest and greatest Santa Clarita has to offer. Speaking of the greatest Santa Clarita has to offer, very special guest in studio. Always good to have Jaimie Ronchetto from Cinema Vet here. Cinema Vet, easy for me to say. Jaimie, thank you for being here, first of all.
Dr. Jaimie.
Oh,
Dr. Jaimie is what I like to call her.
You go emphasis on the doctor.
I do. You want to know why?
She worked hard to get that.
Dang hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to use language like that, but dang hard.
Yes.
There was some serious schooling involved.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Doctor, we're going to talk today about the difference between
emotional support animals or service animals.
Yes.
What are the differences?
What are the differences? Hey, Doc, good to have you.
Good morning.
Isn't it? Seriously, it's Dr. Jaimie. Wasn't I right? I mean, come on. I know
yeah.
you're cool. I know you're cool. But listen, if I did all that schooling and I had all those student loans, I'd want the doctor. Doctor.
It was a lot, so yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's appreciated.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
There you go. Dr. Jaimie, good morning. Let's talk about, I see a lot, especially, you know what, especially when I take a flight, I see a lot of emotional support animals, not necessarily dogs all the time, but I see support animals, and it's becoming very widely used support animals. There are all kinds. There are even bearded dragons.
Yeah.
There are. So talk to us today about the difference between a service dog and emotional support dog. Then you see, people with eyesight issues. They have those dogs helping them get around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are some major differences between a service animal, even a therapy animal, and an emotional support animal.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So I think there is a lot of confusion out there, and I feel like some things are being abused potentially, by people not understanding the importance of these designations. So a service, we'll just say dog, but it can be animals,
Sure,
certainly
sure.
they have horses and things like that. So a service dog has been specifically and specially trained to help one person. So that would be like your seeing eye dogs,
Okay.
for instance. So they are specially trained to help a person with a disability, and that is their one individual. So, and when they are working, when you see them with their vest on and they're out working, you shouldn't pet them. You shouldn't treat them as a pet, because they have a job to do, and interacting with them in that manner can actually interfere with their job and can put their human at risk. They are actually protected by certain laws. So the ADA has certain designations for them. That's why they are allowed in establishments that otherwise would not allow pets there, because they're accompanying their disabled person.
See, this is a major enlightenment, because when we go toward, and again, we're using the example of a dog, but it can be other animals as well, especially for people who have sight problems. We are so, you see a dog, and it's just a natural reaction. You want to put your hand out, you want to pet, you want to know about the dog. And here you're saying, don't do that. Don't
Right.
do that. Don't interrupt their process. Who knew? I talk about education.
Yeah.
This is an amazing education, because it's just a natural, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
a natural, you want to go and you want to pet the dog.
Right. Yeah. So that's service animals. So they're protected by certain laws. They can be accompanied by their person into buildings that otherwise don't allow pets. They're also protected by HUD housing laws. So even if a building has a no pets policy, they're allowed to be there,
It's exempt.
because they're helping their human. Therapy dogs or therapy animals, there's a difference between them and the other designations, is that they're trained to sort of be helpful to many different people. So therapy dogs, you would see more going to hospitals, going to retirement homes, going to schools, helping after a disaster to have that companionship to help
Maybe anxiety.
help lower anxiety,
Uh-huh.
help with depression, help just give sort of good feeling and endorphins by just being there, and being
Are they
pet.
Are they trained as well?
They are trained. They are trained. They need to be able to be comfortable. Like service dogs, they need to be able to be comfortable in a wide variety of situations, so they don't spook easily. They are very laid back, mellow animals, and they're trained to be helpful to many people at once. So that's why you see them in those types of situations.
And they can be good for not only children, all the way to elderly.
Correct.
So that's completely different. Now, those pets, are they also allowed, are they exempt from all of those things you were listing before?
No.
No.
So that's the difference. They have been welcomed into these establishments to perform a function, so that the hospital has okayed their presence there, but they don't have to allow their presence there. Whereas like with a service dog, even if you have policy set up, you have to allow them in.
It's an interesting debate. This brings on an interesting debate, because you could argue that helping anxiety levels is just as important to helping, having a seeing eye dog.
Right.
It's just a different type of disability.
Right. And so that's kind of a good segue. That's where emotional support animals come in. So whereas your therapy dogs or therapy animals are usually trained by someone, let's say they're owned by me. I've trained that animal to be a therapy dog, and I take them to certain places like a hospital or a school, and then they come back home with me. So yeah, they can help in those situations when they're in the hospital. They help lower anxiety and things like that. Whereas an emotional support animal, again, owned by an individual, helps that individual with a certain need, is a little bit different than a service animal. So they do not need to be specifically trained. They're just basically providing you companionship and like a bonded relationship, and still their presence alone can help with certain needs. So if you do have, let's say, PTSD, you do have anxiety, you do have depression, they're fulfilling a psychological need for you, and that's where an emotional support animal comes in. So whereas the service dogs and the therapy dogs are more specifically trained, an emotional support animal is not necessarily trained. They're just providing companionship that you need for a specific disability or, mental status that you have.
As far as breeds,
Yes.
do you recommend now a certain breed? Now, I've always seen personally, when I see a seeing eye dog, they're usually bigger dogs.
Yes.
They're maybe a German Shepherd or a Lab of some sort. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know specifically, but I would imagine that the reason for them being larger is, they're, let's say for seeing eye dogs, for example, they are leading their person. So there's usually a specific harness set up where, if they're a taller dog, it's easier for the
Gotcha.
handler,
Makes sense.
to
Total
hold
sense.
on. In other cases, for service dogs, again, they're helping their owner around the house with specific functions. So they need to be able to open doors, open the refrigerator, get the mail,
Sure.
all of those things, turn on and off lights. And so a larger dog is able to do those a lot easier.
Amazing. Dr. Jaimie, this has been such an education. I knew none of this, so I hope our listeners learned as much as I did this morning. This has been completely, it's been one of those interviews this morning where we weren't silly or anything. We actually provided some great information, which I had never known. So thank you so much for coming in and explaining all of this. If anyone has any other questions, where can our listeners reach you? What's the best place? Is it a phone number? Is the website?
To reach me, either way, the phone number for us is 661-253-9300.
Cinema Vet.
And cinemavet.com is our website.
Fantastic.
So.
And if you're looking for an excellent vet for your pet, here she is. And she is well-knowledged. We already talked about how much schooling she had. Dr. Jaimie, always a pleasure. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Beep, 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 beep. Go!